Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Gabby Reece Show. Elijah Allen Blitz.
Yo.
Here we are again. It's funny for me. These podcasts are really fun for me because I have the one with a different guest each Monday, and I think I act in a kind of a very different side of my personality. It's still a genuine extension of me, but I don't think people get to know, I don't know. I don't want to say a rougher side of me.
I say it's raw. It's real.
Yeah. It's more like if you knew me.
This is how we talk.
Yeah. So if you're just tuning in for the first time, Elijah is somebody who is my dear friend of the whole family, individually, each of us and collectively, which says a lot. And we have had these conversations for years at the kitchen counter, talking about technology, and you're the one who has continued, and you will hear me say this on every show, to keep an open mind and that it's a tool. And because my attitude, whether it's been because of my generation or my natural personality, is I've been not only highly skeptical, I think I've been kind of dragging my feet on the whole thing. So we decided to do these bonus episodes where we have conversations around technology, maybe some life stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's, especially the technology, it's changing every week.
Every day, yeah.
And just, you're keeping me in the loop.
Yeah, it also impacts our lives, like in a very real way on a second-by-second basis.
Yeah, you more than me, probably.
Maybe. Yes, probably. And I think it still impacts you on a pretty consistent basis, whether it's not directly or indirectly.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair. I did write 2 show intros on ChatGPT yesterday.
Right on.
And it really took 6 minutes.
Uh-huh.
Now, I don't turn it over. I do edit it and do all this, and I do the prompts. I will say, too, that I feel like it's getting my voice a little more.
Yeah, it's learning.
Yeah.
It's starting to remember.
Yeah, okay. That's what scares me.
Wait,
As I begin to forget,
okay.
ChatGPT and AI is
starting to remember.
Starting to learn and remember.
But I think that was like Socrates' fear when we invented writing, or Plato, one of them was going to atrophy the brain.
Yeah.
Because if we wrote everything down, then we wouldn't have to remember it. But so it's just, this is maybe the next version of that, potentially?
From your mouth to God's ears. Because there are days I'm like, oh, you better write it down.
Yeah.
Or it's not going to get done.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I use that on my phone all the time. Remind me in 5 minutes, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you do that at 9 times speed as well?
What do you mean?
I'm just kidding.
I wish.
So let's start there, actually. We say, oh, we're talking about AI, and then you said, well, maybe that's something to consider. What is the definition of artificial and artificial intelligence?
Yeah. I've just been thinking about that myself, and I don't have a clear answer.
Why don't you have a clear answer?
Well, I mean, we don't call it artificial painting, and we create the painting. So we've created this thing. We're calling it artificial intelligence. I don't know. That was just where that thought began, and I have no idea where this goes. This is just like this open line of like, what does that mean?
Man, you really have been spending some time. Okay?
Yeah.
You're like,
yeah.
Let's really, I mean, I guess for me, is this going to be able to exist if the lights and the power goes out?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. As of right now, no. In a month, that might be different. I don't know.
I guess my battery is my heart, but
yeah, heart, brain.
So you're saying maybe these things will have their own battery pack?
I'm saying that I have no idea. Like I think it's just going to be. I've said it before. It's going to be stranger than we can imagine.
But okay. So nudging that, pushing in on that concept, feelings, emotions, instincts. These, for me, if this entity, whatever it is, it might be able to recognize patterns, but will it have an instinct?
I don't know. I mean, maybe it does already. I mean that, like when you have a conversation with ChatGPT or any of these large language models.
Don't you think that's from pattern recognition?
Very likely. And am I 100% certain that's all that's going on? No, because the guys that create this stuff are like, it's a black box. Like, we don't know, like, what's going on. To some
The guys
degree,
who create it say
Yes.
we don't know.
they call it a black box. And there's a point at,
You mean like the Google thing?
yeah, no, the Google thing I think was like a little
It
bit more.
literally was literally.
Yeah. I sent you a picture where somebody, anyway, that's a whole other
Is that
thing.
like a Japanese lady Nazi? No.
Oh, yeah. There was African American woman Nazi, I believe. Yeah. Anyway, that was the whole other thing. But there is a point in these models where they just don't know what's happening, and it's like they call it a black box.
So they make stuff and they don't know what's happening.
They make stuff, and then they're like, "Wait, how is it doing that?"
Yeah, that concerns me now even more.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not. I'm not saying this to say we shouldn't be concerned. I'm saying that when you say, "Does it have intuition?" I'm saying probably not, but I'm not certain, and I don't think they are either.
Maybe it's a different kind of intuition.
Maybe, but it's like when we say, we've talked about it before, and you're like, oh, yeah, it doesn't remember, it just seems to remember, right? Or it doesn't think, it just seems to think. It's like, okay, it doesn't change the entirety of civilization. It just seems to change the entirety of civilization. It's like, no, this is real. I mean, whether we want to call it seems to or not, like, this is what's happening. And we just have words like memory, like thinking, like intuition. Maybe we either need to recalibrate them, and maybe this is where that definition of artificial kind of gets out of focus. Because, like, what are we talking about?
You know what's interesting when I hear conversations like this that I know I'm a part of, but I'm also observing it,
You're observing the conversation? Okay, cool. Yeah.
is I can't help but feel at times incredibly out of touch. And I don't know when it happened.
Yeah.
I think there's a time in your life you're not there clearly where you're going along, you're learning, you're trying to develop and evolve as a person, you build a life. It gets a little hectic, especially, I think, whether you take on a career and a family and both or whatever, because believe me, people can be plenty busy without a family. And you look up and all of a sudden you go, I barely know what they're talking about. And in this case, when I hear kind of the nuance around the suggestion that we can't even define what intelligence is, or artificial, excuse me, I'm like, whoa, what have I been doing these last like 3-4 years? So it's just interesting for me because my real instincts, the one given to me by an unknown larger force,
Yeah. I'm with you.
is to just push it all away. And I've really been working on not doing that. Like when I hear things that like either they make me uncomfortable, I can't put them in their proper place, I just try to sit with it. But on this one, when it comes to computers and artificial sort of guides, my nature is to buck it. But what's interesting is then it makes me think about people that we use as teachers or gurus or guides or coaches, and we're all incredibly flawed. And so there's something interesting in that idea of maybe something that is artificial enough that maybe it doesn't have to succumb to human kind of our glitches,
Yeah.
our ego, our fear, our desires,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. The fear. Is that what, I mean,
Well, I guess it is all fear, right?
I
Is
think
lust
so.
fear?
I think so.
Oh, really?
I think so. Yeah. Because I don't, let's see.
But these things of the flesh, let's call it, whatever that means.
Yeah.
So that's maybe interesting. I'll try to spin it around and see.
Yeah. And again, I really don't have an answer for it. I've just been thinking, and maybe there is an actual definition of what artificial means and it can really help put this into context, but I haven't found it. And yes, I'm actually paying a lot more attention to this than most things in general, like we've talked about before, because I don't see this as some bubble. I think this is like not just a new technology. This is like an underlying meta technology that's going to change all technologies. So I've just been like, okay, that's why every time we talk about this, I'm like, we pay attention. We need to start talking about this because I don't have the answers, and I'm seeing so clearly like this is a thing.
And you know what else? I think I start itching. I think something else. I feel like and I mean this in like a way of like genuinely kind of love. It's like I think a lot of people feel like universal parents or mothers, right? Like you care for the generations that aren't here yet, your kids' kids that aren't here. It's like you sort of take on this feeling of a nurturing idea, and something that does really concern me, though, is I see even just already teenagers and young adults having at least more visibly a greater discomfort with connecting with each other and with other people.
Yeah.
And I can't help but wonder if that is part of the evolution of this artificial sort of entity, that maybe it doesn't judge you, right? It doesn't really have an opinion about you. It doesn't think you're tall or ugly or, beautiful or anything. So it does concern me when I see young people on their phones a lot.
Oh, yeah. And I hope that what you just described is not part of it. I hope that those are just growing pains. Like, I hope that's something that we are.
Really?
I hope.
How about, wasn't it really juicy? I just flew and you just actually also went separately at a different time, but within the same few days to South by Southwest. Mm-hmm. And a few people are on the plane wearing masks. Do whatever you want. I don't care. And I think, here we go. I can barely see your face. And now your eyes are down on a screen. And it's like you just disappear. Mm-hmm. And I know plenty of people are wearing these masks to not have to deal. Mm-hmm. This has nothing to do with don't sneeze in my mouth. Mm-hmm. And when I see that, I go, oh, really?
Yeah.
To disappear.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal. I don't want to deal with people.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's wild.
I get it. And also, like, we know people that, like, that's understandable in their predicament. They're like, I really have just been bombarded with people, and I would like to put the mask on and put the hat on.
You mean like they're famous?
Famous or
well, that's okay.
Yeah,
but I'm not walking around the airport with, like, a couple hundred famous people.
Yeah.
Believe me, I know, I get that other deal.
Yeah.
That's fine. Or like, I'm feeling ugly today, and you slap on, I'm having a bad hair face day. Okay, put on a mask. But I see it as a way out.
I think that's just a different version of it. Because even if it's just like, I don't want it today. I don't want the human interaction. I'm not saying that's right, but that could just be it's on the spectrum of that. I just don't want to deal with it today. I don't want to do the human interaction today. I want to disengage, unplug, cover my face, whatever. Maybe it's that,
Then a lot of people feel that way.
What?
Then there's a lot of people feeling that way.
Yeah. It's very possible.
Yeah.
But again, I hope that's not the end goal. I hope that's just like part of the growth into whatever is emerging out of this, chrysalis, hopefully. Because I do feel that there is potential. We talked about it, I think, last time, that there is potential for this to re-engage us with humanity in a deeper way, and potentially even hopefully with nature.
Okay. I feel like when I hear that, I'm like, well, how many hundreds of years is that going to take? Because we have, in a very short period of time, we don't go outside, we stopped having sex, we are at each other's throats incessantly. You even said today, it feels like the world is kind of ramping up and a little bit volatile. And I was like, oh no, maybe it's just because we have access to everything happening in all corners of the planet that they show us, by the way.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
But you're like, yeah, but no. And I don't disagree with you.
Or both, I say.
So what is the impetus to have human contact, to have relations? It's slow. It takes self-restraint. It takes thoughtfulness. It takes sort of a patience and a listening. It takes vulnerability. Mm-hmm. So you think we're going to circle back into things that are already hard to do as we've found ways to escape and go into another place?
I think this is like everything, it's going to be yes and. You're going to have the option for all of it, right? So you're going to have the option people are going to escape further down the rabbit hole. That's going to happen. But I think it's going to also create potentially the opportunity to have more connection, and where you can do those, what you're saying, harder things. You're going to be more well equipped to go into those relationships, into those confrontations, into those parts of your own psyche.
How are you going to be more well equipped?
This is just a random example that I've heard, but like people will actually use ChatGPT to upload their journals, and they'll say like, hey, just like decades or years at least of journaling that they've done, and they'll say, hey, just analyze this for me, like point out any blind spots or any kind of biases that I have, or like just go through this and show me something I might be missing. Or what do you think about this? That's just a small sliver of something that's here right now.
You're asking ChatGPT, what do you think about this?
Yeah. I haven't done that, but I've heard of people using it in that case. That's just something that came to mind as an example
Oh,
of how you could.
I want to fuck around with that.
Yeah.
Because I'd love to see what ChatGPT has to say.
Yeah. And you could say, analyze this in the style of your favorite, whether it's Freud or Jung or Tony Robbins, Byron Katie, just like from this perspective, like give me feedback as if you were this person based on all of this. It's a possibility. I mean, that is actually not just that is something that is out there right now, a way to use this tool for that.
You know what else it makes me think is people love to just get in their own stuff all the time and their feelings. And I hate to say it, there is data suggesting that you don't always heal more by talking about it more, even like real serious traumas, heavy duty stuff. And sometimes like the worst stuff, and it's happened and you've talked about it and maybe you've done some type of therapy, and then at some point it's also about the living and by building a new or different extension of your life, sometimes the healing is in there. Mm-hmm. And so I always love it when people just want to go round and round about what happened. And that's not to dishonor people that have had really, wild violence, radical traumas. But that I can't wait to see that. People will just be like all day long, tell me again, like, do you think I have anxiety or...
Well, you use that. What's that thing? I think they promote on your podcast.
BetterHelp.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that's different. You have a person.
Oh, you're actually I haven't used it. So you're chatting with a person?
Yeah, it's a live therapist.
It's a live therapist.
And if you don't like your therapist,
you can
they'll switch you.
Yeah. So...
And in the comfort of your own home.
Right.
The convenience. So listen, I think it's good. You've helped me. I've gotten help, especially when it comes to parenting, on getting, new tools. But I'm saying, well, it's like anything, right? It'll get abused.
But that goes back to the artificial thing. It's like
talk to me about me.
Artificial therapists. It's that. But it's just a digital thing that's not judging you. It's completely anonymous. Like it's a robot.
It's like case. Jump off the balcony.
Somebody who gets sued if that happens. Yeah.
Sue who?
Dude, whatever company is telling you
I'm
that.
just kidding.
Yeah.
No, well, Okay, then we'll have to. We'll see if something dawns on us.
In terms of artificial?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't have any answers. I just was like...
I wish we need to talk to one of these techie guys.
Yeah, let's bring them in.
Who? Who could we talk to? Let's find somebody.
Let's see, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Where do you want to go next? There's a lot.
Okay, so any luck on OpenAI? Have they raised their money? What is it, 2 trillion or 7 trillion?
7 trillion.
Seven, okay, of course. What's the difference? 7 trillion.
They need 7 trillion.
It's all the same.
Yeah.
What's happening there?
I haven't heard any status. I think that they might be a little slowed down with the Elon lawsuit.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Is that ramping up at all?
It's interesting. So since we last talked about it, OpenAI came out and they filed to get the case dismissed, and they released all of these emails that they've had for the last 10 years with Elon. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting, but it's also very cherry picked emails. It's if this goes to court, we're going to see a lot more emails that they did not want to release.
What was the implication of these or the tone?
It was stuff like Elon saying, we need to raise more money. There's no way we're going to do this with this little bit of money. We should make it $1 billion. Mm-hmm. And then there's one that was...
Because it was only 100 million, right?
Yeah, in the beginning. But there's one that they're kind of saying it's like a smoking gun, but it's debatable. But the one, what's his name? Ilya Sutskever, who was on the board that kicked off Sam Altman.
Yeah.
He says in one of the email chains to Elon, there's dangers of open sourcing when we get to artificial general intelligence. So we need to be careful. We need to raise more money to get the compute power necessary to do that. And so that's basically what ended up happening. And Elon just replies, "Yep." So they're like, "See, he agreed with it." And it's like, yes, and we don't know.
He didn't say go out and go to Microsoft and make them an owner of the company.
No. He did at one point try and say in one of the emails, I think we should bring this into Tesla. We should merge this into Tesla. So,
yeah, I bet.
Yeah, exactly.
How's your stock price now, baby?
Exactly. There's that. And interestingly enough, though, after they've released these emails, because the big criticism was Elon's AI, Grok AI for Twitter or X is not open source. And so now he's just come out, since they've released the emails, he's now come out and just made Grok open source. So
what does that mean?
It means that everybody has access to the code. That it's
what do you mean they have access to the code?
Well, it's that OpenAI was supposed to be open source.
Yes.
So he's made Grok open source the way that OpenAI was supposed to be, because that was one of the main criticisms, that his own AI is closed sourced. But because of this, it's just gone so fast.
What's the implication of that? That Grok's open.
That it's what OpenAI was supposed to be. That it's not something that's closed off in a walled garden. Like nobody really gets access to the source code, and everybody now has access to Grok's core code.
Yeah, but what do you do with that? Is my point.
It's not something that I don't think you or I would really be able to utilize.
Yeah,
but
no
people
kidding.
that would really understand how to use APIs and these special keys, and like really can go in and tweak the model and fine tune it however they want.
They can go and touch the Grok model?
Something
Somebody
like that.
up in Northern Cal can go in there?
Yeah, something like that.
Really?
Yeah. That was the big...
I'm calling BS on that.
We'll see. I mean, that's what he came out and said after these emails were leaked. So just within the week, not even that we talked, it was like it went from Elon's filing this lawsuit to like they leaked the emails. Now Elon's making Grok open source, and like within a week, things are going to be even crazier.
Must be kind of fun to poke Elon Musk and see what his moves are, because he probably has a few.
It seems like he's we'll see. Yeah.
So today I was telling you that I took one of my daughters to her school, and it's sort of a college prep conversation, and I was sharing with you how impressed I was with just how thoughtful, and I mean, certainly when I went to school, people were great, whatever, but it just wasn't as organized and thoughtful. And then you go, oh yeah, have you seen these teachers now?
Oh yeah, I think teachers just got caught using AI to grade papers.
Yeah.
That students have used AI to write. So
what does that mean? Is it as like a standoff? Like what happens?
No, it's just like what's the fucking point? What's the point of school? Yeah, it's like if we're gonna have the kids using AI to write papers, now the teachers are gonna use AI to grade the papers that the AI has written. Mm-hmm. It's just this circle. What are we doing?
Interesting.
Yeah. So when I saw that, I sent it to you. I was like,
kind of wild. It would be really cool if it was like a teacher that taught for 35 years, and they're like, I'm tired.
It very well may be.
It's not the new 25-year-old teacher?
No. Yeah. This is somebody who's just like, oh, this is way better. I'm just going to press the button, grade the paper. Yeah, I'm over it. I got stuff to do. I got relationship stuff to work out. I got to go focus on my
I just had a new grandkid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Do you think we're going to need to know how to read? In the next 50 years?
Oh no, 50. Oh my God.
Oh God,
50
I know.
years.
That's like
50.
We'll be lucky if the planet's still around in 50 years.
We need to read in 10 years is even a question. It's like, it makes me think, I haven't thought about it, but it's very possible no. I mean, it depends how fast they get these brain interfaces hooked up. Probably 10 years, you still need to read, roughly. I mean, I listen to most things,
Yeah, but you're dyslexic.
Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah.
I understand.
So, but when you say read, you just mean ingest information? Because like,
how else do you use reading?
Well, I'm saying
for learning.
But yeah, exactly. So if it's about education and internalizing information, I'm listening to the majority of it.
I'm sure there's proof that if you read it, you remember it even better. Not for someone like you, but let's say for the general population. And I will say, I'd be curious to know, because we know that handwriting and cursive specifically has an impact on your impulse control for focus. Mm-hmm. That the shapes and the curve train parts of your brain that for attention, attention control. So I'd be interested to know when your eyes move across a page and have to assess shapes and put them into meaning, how that impacts you. Because it definitely must have some kind of it would be no different than pictures, but letters are just small pictures.
Yeah.
And now it's just going to be a download?
Yeah, well, that's the
but how do you...
Remember the Matrix? He just goes, I know Kung Fu. It's like...
Where was that? It's like the people who were lost weight through exercise and...
Oh, yeah.
And eating right, and they're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Ozempic.
Yeah.
And now I'll be like, why? We all went to school. Doctors go to medical school for how long?
Yeah.
Your brother,
He's totally. Yeah. You have, I Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, even said, he's like, this might be the last hard thing I ever do. Because this is just, what I'm building is going to take away the need to ever do something like this again, because it could potentially get to that point. Not potentially, eventually it will, where you're just going to be, I want to learn, download.
But we're going to turn into like pudding with big brains.
I mean, the Wall-E option is there. and I think there is another end of the spectrum where it's like full on optimization, human physiology, like exploring the cosmos.
It's going to be so boring though.
Is it boring right now? It's crazy. Is this boring?
No, but I mean, if everybody was like, we're all really smart, we're all really da-da-da, it's going to be so boring.
Really? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, that goes into the definition.
Feels robotic to me.
It could be, but that we don't know what that looks like. We're just imagining based on a lot of sci-fi movies and stuff. Like it could be. Then we go into, if we're asking what the definition of artificial.
Then we won't have war. Maybe.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. Now we're asking
the atrociousness
what is
of it.
the definition of intelligence? Because
Okay.
that's something that you could think it sounds robotic and boring, but maybe that's amazing. Like maybe if maybe if that level of intelligence is accessible to all of humanity, then maybe we're actually more evolved in a sense that we could not have what you were saying, like would you call them desires of the flesh, but it's not have no desires, but to be free of all of those things that are encumbering us to not be able to connect on a human level.
I always love how you bring it back.
I'm just saying it's a possibility. You know, like when we point out all these negative
Take
ways.
2% of the population. We'll use it though,
Maybe, but maybe not, because it is so much better. That humanity, that thing that you described, that
You don't think that people love to be kind of self-destructive and wild?
that seems.
Don't you think they love it?
I think that is a thing, and I don't think that is correlated with. I don't know. I was about to say I don't think that's correlated with intelligence, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Because if you have more intelligence, and again, I don't know this, but I do think
You do less of that?
I think so. That's my guess, but
Yeah.
we're gonna see. I don't know.
I like how you danced around that. That was good.
Wait, no, I didn't mean to dance around. I just want to be
No, it's
really
good.
specific
No,
because
I
it's
got
like,
it.
yeah, because it's like we're making a lot of assumptions what that level of intelligence would bring or wouldn't bring, and it's like we can go dystopian or we can go utopian, and it's probably somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
It's probably all of it.
Microplastics.
Oh, wow, yeah.
That's really got you. What's up?
Yeah, it's bad. It's so much. I mean, like we all hear microplastics, hopefully, but like it's.
Didn't I remember? Well, did you? I'm not offended if you didn't.
What?
I did a podcast with Susan Casey.
Oh yeah.
And she talked about they don't pull up anything new out of the ocean that doesn't have.
Microplastics.
Correct.
So this was something it was in New England Journal of Medicine. It was, I think it was in Italy, and they were pulling plaque out of people's arteries, and they found the microplastics in the bloodstream of these people. And the people that had, I think not everyone had a certain, I don't remember what the numbers were, there's a certain amount, but if you had passed a certain amount, more than half of them did. If you had passed this certain threshold when they did the follow-up study, you were 4.5 times more likely to have a cardiac event or an aneurysm or a stroke or some sort of all-cause mortality incident than not. It'd be 4.5 times more likely. Like we just the microplastic thing, we cannot be drinking out of plastic bottles. It has to stop.
And do you think? I'm not sure if they said where it was in Italy. Are these people consuming a lot of fish?
I don't know. That's a good question though. It's because you
like where is it coming from?
Yeah, I think.
Well, it's in everything, right?
It's that's the problem. It's one of those things where it's like it's so pervasive.
Like our food packaging.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yogurt. Just like it's in all these things you don't even think about, and it's like, oh yeah, this.
How about this?
Huh.
This one kills me.
What?
If you go to a coffee place.
Yeah. Say this. Yeah.
And you put a hot liquid in a cup.
Yes.
That has a plastic liner.
Yes. Well, how about this? I was thinking about.
How about the soda cans even?
But you put a fucking plastic lid on it, and you're sipping through the plastic lid.
Yeah.
Like even if the cup is made out of cardboard, you're sipping through a plastic lid.
But even the cardboard actually has
a liner.
A plastic liner. Wow. Did you ever see that soda can?
I sent that to you. Yeah. So if you dissolve a soda can, it's lined with plastic.
With plastic.
Yeah.
And what dissolved it exactly?
Oh, something terrible.
Wasn't it the soda that dissolved it though?
Was it?
Didn't they use the soda to dissolve the aluminum?
Did they?
I think so.
Oh god,
Unless I'm out of my mind.
It might have been. Yeah. I remember.
But I mean, you don't think like a nice dark cola can impact a plastic liner?
I bet it could.
Before we thought it was the chemicals and the sugar.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Okay, so this brings me
Yeah.
to something that I always say when it comes to this. And it's hard when you talk about microplastics and heart attacks because no matter how strong you are and how your immune system is strong, that's probably not going to help you with that. But I know when people hear things like this, it's overwhelming.
I know. Yeah.
Right? And then you're like, oh, the signals from my phone and from my computer and my Wi-Fi and the stuff in my food and the chemicals. And so what I always say at the end of all of this always is fortify yourself to the best of your ability with what you eat and how you move and who you hang out with.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you got to let it ride.
Yeah.
You got to, I think, staying alert and aware and consuming information and understand and make the best choices you can. But I think for people to stay up late at night, I think, and worry about the stuff that's not totally in their control.
Yep.
So deal with the things you can control with. And because stressing out about it is not going to.
I agree completely.
It's not going to help.
Yeah. And I just, this microplastic thing is such a red flag. It's just something where it's like, go to the extent of not drinking out of plastic bottles. Like, at least start there. Like, I completely agree.
Yeah, what
like,
is that?
You have to do something, but just start there. It's so, they were saying that the microplastics were like, it became a scaffolding for the plaque to build up in your arteries. Like, this is just insane. And so anyway, I completely agree where it's like you can't get overwhelmed and then you start stressing and the stress is even worse for you. But it's just like we have to call attention to these things and say, at least stop drinking out of plastic
If I
bottles.
go to one of these coffee places and I have my own fancy stainless, I don't know, whatever, hot, cold.
Stainless steel.
Mug.
Yeah.
Will they put my product in there?
Great question. We should start.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah, I hope so.
Just throw a fit.
Yeah. Or just pull up that study. And
Just
like
get
show 'em.
hysterical. People be like, okay.
You're not wrong.
Just get a cup with your name on it.
Yeah.
Because then they'll go, what's your name?
Yeah. Glass, stainless steel, I guess that's the best we got. I think that's a really good point.
I mean, just start there. I don't personally drink too many things out of plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I want to talk about Claude.
Oh, yeah.
And now there's Claude 3.
Claude
What
3.
happened to Claude 2?
Claude 2 was doing really well, actually.
Okay.
We talked about it. And
Yeah.
It's interesting, but now they've announced Claude 3, and Claude 3 has now beaten ChatGPT on all the benchmarks that they use to test these models.
So can a civilian use Claude 3 right now?
Yeah. Anthropic is the company that makes it.
Okay.
They don't have an app as of right now. So,
What?
Yeah.
You can use it, but you can't use it.
It's just a website. No, you just go to anthropic.com.
Yeah, but there's a lot like that. Actually, even the one, was it the Opus one that you turned me on to?
Yeah. It's a website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So that's,
Did we talk about Opus? We did, right?
We did.
Okay, good.
I just love it. Your reaction was, there's not an app. You're like, what? Oh, go ahead. Like your reaction.
I'm offended.
I need an app. Yeah. There's not an app for that.
Is it because it's changing so much? Why bother build an app that you're going to have to change and modify?
Maybe. It also might be, I think it's probably pretty expensive to keep an app.
Yeah.
Like that's ChatGPT has done it so well, but to keep an app really up to date and functioning at that level, it's my guess.
So do you have Claude 3?
I've used it, yeah. I mean, I was using Claude too.
Not have.
Oh, yeah.
Do you go to the Claude website
I
or
use-
Anthropic website?
Yes, I do, yeah.
What do you do on there?
So what's really interesting about Claude 3 specifically is how intelligent it is, and it will really start to get your style down. So when you start to like train it and say like, hey, analyze this, give it a podcast intro and say like, analyze this tone, like speak in this style, it really is starting to nail it. They do a thing, they call it a needle in a haystack test, where they upload like, 1 million words or whatever. And like, it's a whole PDF, but in somewhere, they throw in a little random thing about like, if it's a whole thing about physics, they throw in a thing about like, oh, the best pizza in New York.
Yeah.
So they're like, in this, I'm making these numbers up, but 1 million, pages of things. Then they ask like, and what about the best pizza, to test if it read the whole document or just kind of scanned it. And not only did Claude say that, oh yeah, there is this thing about
Joe's Pizza.
It said, yeah, you mentioned Joe's Pizza, and then it actually said
The address?
no. It said this seems a little bit out of place in this paper, and so we think that it probably was inserted to test my intelligence.
Oh,
So,
but for you teachers out there, Claude 3.
there's that. But also, like, just think about that for a second. That
there you go.
It was self-aware.
No, it read the pattern that this didn't fit in with that. Come on.
Okay, again, it's like we can say.
Are you going to be one of those guys that has a robot wife?
No.
Okay, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No. But again, it's like
She doesn't talk back.
No. I just say it's an interesting thing to pay attention to, that we say it seems self-aware, but again, it's like it seems to change the world.
I wish Laird was here sometimes.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I would just like to watch the facial expressions.
Well, he brings it back to the primal stuff. Okay, where are we getting the food from? Where's the water coming from?
He always says that about really expensive handbags.
Yeah.
And I don't have. I mean, I have a few bags, but I'm not really that kind of. I'm just not a label person.
Yeah.
I appreciate fine work, but
Yeah.
it's just not my thing.
Yeah.
But when he'll see something, I'll be like, it's so ridiculous. Like that purse cost that or whatever. And he's like, can you eat it?
Yep.
Does it provide shelter?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, yeah, good point.
Yeah.
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 I know.
I know. And I'm completely with that. And it's also like we're starting to see how we can utilize these tools to go in that direction.
Okay. I will, I'm trying. I did this interview, I think I told you, with this Chelsea Gooden, and she wrote a book about sort of the untapped power of teenage girls, talking about their wisdom and their power. And obviously they have some wattage. They're young. They got, fast brains, all the stuff. But it was just interesting where I really have been observing that when I have conversations where my experience is a little bit different than what someone else's experience on it, who comes from a very different place. So in this instance, this person does not have a family, but they have mentored and tutored young women a ton for 16 years. So she has a lot of experience. But it was interesting for me the tendency sometimes is to wipe the whole thing away instead of saying, okay, it's not that I have to agree or disagree with this whole message, but it's about trying to pull out just some of the ideas that will push us forward. Mm-hmm. And the thing that came out of that was this idea of connection. And a lot of times, and I'm guilty of this, where it's like, teenage girls, or like someone has a baby and it's a girl and they go, oh, wait till the teenage years. And she said that and I thought, oh, it's so true. And it is true also, by the way, on both sides.
I've seen it, yeah.
But there's something interesting about, she made suggestions about how to approach a teenager with self-inquiry, which seems to be a universal theme. I interviewed somebody who deals with conflict resolution. And he's like, if you can approach it with curiosity. And I'm only bringing that up because it seems, whether it's your own issues with yourself and your own inner voice, maybe not a positive one, or dealing with a partner and kind of taking something personal, or they've done something or said something to a child, to someone at work, whatever it is. And I know this is a big thing for Byron Katie. Not only that self-inquiry, but just when things make you think, oh, this is just BS, to go, no, wait a second, I'll look at it with curiosity, because I do think that does move it towards the direction we all want.
Yeah.
It just does.
I agree.
And that's always one of the big learning things for me, because sometimes it's easier to broad stroke and just go, oh, give me a break.
Yeah, put it in that bucket. It's the technology bucket.
And I'm tired. I've been parenting for 28 years.
Yeah.
And it's, are you going to have kids? And she's like, well, actually, no. And I was like, oh, okay. So just like, but it's learning from everywhere, taking the good stuff from everything.
Yeah.
And it seems to be helpful. And, occasionally inside my own mind, I might have a different dialogue.
Yeah.
But I can commit to this other behavior.
Yeah. When staying open and curious about it. Like that's what we're doing even with these talks. Like we're just like, all right.
Yeah.
Like, you're not, I mean, you're not shutting it down and you're pushing back and be like, wait, that doesn't sound right if something doesn't sound right. But you're not like being closed to it. I don't think.
No, and sometimes pushing against it helps me really learn. It's like little kids, like, what's this? Touch that, or pick it up,
Yeah.
Little kids shove it in their mouth.
Yeah.
They're like, what is that?
Yeah. I remember hearing Neil deGrasse Tyson when I was teaching kindergarten. I remember hearing him give this interview, and he was like, you can't leave a 3-year-old alone in a room without it doing scientific experiments. He has to start banging on things. He's like, that's an acoustic sound wave experiment.
Yeah, what is that?
Yeah. This is, we're curious.
Yeah. So another thing I just am bringing up, because we're talking about different things, is, so this morning, I have a little tear in my hip. I've had it for almost 2 years. I have a myriad of things just from living like everybody, and sports and whatever. And so I have committed for the last 30 days straight of certain little annoying, they don't seem like they do anything, exercises, and even some kind of stretching with resistance, things that I really don't like and I'm not good at. And I just want to remind people that if they've been given anything like this, some type of curriculum from a trainer or a PT or anything, that it is a long story, but the body is so regenerative and amazing.
Yeah.
And even though you could say, oh, well, I've always been like this, and you can still be different. And I've been having that experience with it and just surrendering to, I'm committed to the process. I'm not going to analyze my feelings about the process or about how boring it is or that I don't really have time for one more thing or at a day that I'd rather sweat and really feel like I got it done. I did these other things that they really add value.
And it's been making a difference.
It does.
That's
and
cool.
It does make a real difference. So I just bring that up because I'm very sure a lot of people have these little checklists in their minds of things they, quote, should be doing.
Yeah.
And if it has some thoughtfulness behind it and good reason, then if you can make the window, make that work. And what happens too, I think for a lot of people is they go, well, the only work that counts is the one where I almost feel broken after. Because I worked hard, I sweat, I burned calories, I did this stuff. And I'm so of that school. But the problem is eventually we're going to break. And so if we have these opportunities where a little softness, a little tiny exercises and movements, I think they really, through time, can not only help us work harder, but just work forever.
Yeah.
And in the end, get greater results than if we go until we break.
Yeah. It just all adds up.
Yeah, exactly. So I just bring that up because I think people as it is already find it's hard to find the time to work out. And it's like, wait, you mean I'm going to forego one of my sessions to do like clamshells?
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's a good idea.
It's like, yes, you should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that was something that was important. And I want to put someone on everyone's radar. Eventually I'll have her on the podcast, but I was fortunate enough to interview Beth Lewis, and she works with Dr. Attia.
Yep.
And she's very bright and smart. So there's a lot of people in movement, I don't call them trainers, they're way beyond that are worthy looking at. Beth Lewis is definitely one of them.
She knows what's up.
Yeah. She learned, 8 or 9 curriculums and then threw them all out the window and just goes case by case with all those resources. And I was really, really impressed.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen her work on Peter's podcast and him talking about it. Yeah.
If you can get Peter, right, to listen to you, to do things he doesn't want to. I don't know him.
Yeah.
Laird has met him. But you can tell this is a guy who's going to question everything, push back on everything. And I think she does it with probably a graceful smile and is like, okay.
That sounds right.
Yeah, 5 more.
Yeah, right.
She's also an interesting example of a kind of a female powerhouse.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
A quote I heard.
Tell me.
I have like a 4-minute more of Einstein quotes.
Oh, yeah. Are they all accurate? Because there's a lot of quotes been misattributed to Einstein.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's obscene. Yeah, there's so many. Like probably the majority of Einstein quotes you've heard attributed to him are not.
Okay, I'm going to send you what I have, and then you can tell me. But whether it's from Einstein or not, this was really important.
Yeah.
It said that idiots seek revenge, smart people exercise forgiveness, and intelligent people ignore. And I thought, oh, yeah. Because, of course, you should exercise forgiveness, but most of the stuff isn't worth getting all riled up or involved with anyway. That's what I find.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about, injustices or anything, but I think when people are going through whatever they're going, I think we oftentimes insert ourselves into so many things throughout our day. And I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and she's like, well, you can get a lot done in a day, and you don't seem to, get too riled up either way. And I think it's because I have a level of softness, but also the ability, I don't have to go down every hole with everybody.
Yeah.
And every comment and it just helps me conserve energy.
Yeah. I think
you didn't like that one.
No, I think it was just the word ignore, because what I see you do, it's different because you're not like, ignore to me implies suppressing. And I don't see you as suppressing it. You're just like, yeah, no. Like it's like, whether it's like energetic jujitsu or, it's just like, you're just moving past that.
But that's how I took it.
Yeah.
When I hear the word in this instance of ignore.
Right. I think that's
it felt like it was that, which is like,
Right.
of course you see it, but it's okay. And so much of the things that happen in our day-to-day life that really kick our butts, that take a lot of time and energy, are just worth kind of like your eyeballs see it and you just go, and you just keep rolling. And I know it can get easier with age if you practice, but it's like you don't get caught up in the goopity gop.
Yeah, I get that. And I think it's just what I guess the definition of ignore. And as long as ignore doesn't mean suppress.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. And I have seen it to be true in my own life.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's also like, you always say, it's all an experiment, which is one of the taglines for my podcast. And I got it from you, which I know you've gotten it from other places as well.
I don't even, that might have been my original. I'm not sure, but
is that your OG?
I think so.
Do you want to trademark that?
No, I don't trademark shit, but
you should.
Listen, it's all.
But
an
I'm just saying,
experiment.
I'm saying it that it came from you. So
I think it came from our conversations, actually. I
know, because that's your final line. That's when you slap on me at the end of every one just to shut me up. You go, well, it's all an experiment.
No, actually, I think it was more like when I was just like bringing all this. Have you tried this and this weird shit? This like ketone stuff that tastes like gasoline. It's all an experiment. Yeah.
Oh, Laird has his entire surf crew on ketone IQ.
Amazing.
Yes, I don't work with them.
Yeah.
But I do like it.
It took 7 years.
Doesn't taste great, but it works great.
It's great.
If you need a clean source of energy for your brain or your body, and it won't crush your sleep.
Again, it only
can you
took
see?
7 years.
They have it out on their jet skis.
Do they really?
Yes, they were out today for 5.5 hours.
Let's go.
And he's got the little ketone IQs out on the jet ski.
I love this.
Yeah, it's like you have your knife.
Yeah.
You have your EPIRB. Yep. You have all your stuff, and now they have their ketone IQ.
I remember when I first brought it to the pool. Joe Kim was the only one who was going there with
the
me.
HVMM was this gross stuff.
Yeah. But it's the same company. Yeah.
I know, but that formula was like that was for the guys going into the war.
Yes. You're right.
Because at that point they had bigger worries than how it tasted.
Yeah. I think that was for DARPA. Yeah.
Seriously.
I'm serious.
Yeah. What else, Lige?
What else?
Is there anything else that's come up on your radar? I have one. Oh God, I've been talking a lot. Sorry.
No, I'm kidding.
I will say something I did see that I don't normally talk about this stuff, but I will today because now I'm sort of at the end of what I think. That now it's just insane. It's like one thing if you're in a swimming pool and you're divided by a lane, and that's bad enough, locker rooms and what have you. USA Boxing now lets, transgender women, biological males compete. And this is where, for me, this is just common sense. This is very dangerous. For a female to be punched by a biological male or a male that's gone through puberty is very, very dangerous. And I just don't understand how we have coupled two issues together, which is the ability for biological females, who, by the way, it's taken forever already to have a space to really compete and sort of cultivate those sports and those athletes and the level of playing and all of that, and their ability, even scholarships. I couldn't have gone to college if I didn't have a scholarship. With the rights for transgender athletes and human beings to play sports. We somehow got glomped together. And it's not that I was quiet, but I was sort of observing it for a long time. And I just think I feel like it's really, because someone will get hurt, especially when you talk about combat sports. We're not talking about volleyball. You will take spaces where girls could have played, they won't be able to. They had a team where they had 3 athletes, transgender athletes on a volleyball team and 4 on the other. And the joke was, guess which team won? So that's where we're at. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I heard Eric Weinstein talk on Chris Williamson's podcast recently. And he just, I'd have to pull up exactly why this came to mind, but he just was so thoughtful because he was saying he has so many friends that are really like identify,
Yeah.
they were born into the wrong body, and just how like but he was saying something similar to I think what you're saying, that we have to separate these conversations.
That's the only reason I'm bringing it up, is just to try to see if there's a way to have a different, and there's many people doing it, a different approach where it's not, it's not combined, because it's two different things happening, and somehow we've combined it. And not only do I think it isn't fair, I think it's becoming dangerous now. And I don't understand, because when I went to South by Southwest, I'm sitting on a panel about women and who have organizations that raise money for, and they're trying to figure out how to continue to support female athletes and how to not let young girls 13 and 14 quit, because they do at a much higher rate than males for a myriad of reasons, right? They have a lot more interests, whatever it is. There's less opportunity in certain ways, right? It's less of a social construct. They're social in so many ways. So it's just fascinating to me that on one side we have this whole conversation going on that, by the way, has existed. I've been listening to it personally for over 25 years about, well, how can we support women in women's sports? And now simultaneously, before we've even begun to kind of wrap our hands around this question, we've added a whole new challenge to providing a place for girls to compete. And somehow it's like protecting one group but not protecting another. And that part for me is, I feel like we could be more thoughtful.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, also you have a very interesting perspective on it, like so unique, because tell me if I'm wrong about this, but weren't, like when you were playing volleyball, the women were actually paid more than the males in that sport?
Yeah, so women's volleyball is interesting. It's kind of it was sort of interesting. I was in fashion. I was modeling. I was in I know where to go. I was in
Every day I'm hustling.
I was in two situations where the women were in fashion. It's like it's 10 times the amount, right? But when I was playing 4-on-4, our TV ratings were higher than the men, so we were paid more.
Right.
And in the doubles game, it was not the case, but in 4-on-4, it definitely was. So not only have I had that experience, but I was born in 1970, which is when Title IX came out, and now they're trying to kind of rejigger what that means. And I think we do need sports. I mean, sports, not for the point of winning or trophies or medals. Sports saves a lot of people. It's a way out. I personally experienced that. And so, and never mind, even if you come from a great family, as a female, to develop a different type of relationship with your body, to learn how to play, to learn how to compete, to learn how to win, to learn how to lose, to learn to work with people. I don't feel like we get thrown into those environments as naturally as boys do. They roughhouse, they group together, it's just different, right? So it's a place that we get to do that if we want to.
Right.
And so it has me a little fired up, I'm not going to lie.
I hear you.
But anyway. All right, getting back to technology. That seems to be easier to figure out.
Man, I don't know. Maybe. Or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did Douglas Murray say? Like, the end of every civilization, people are talking about their genitalia.
Oh, yeah.
Remember,
like that,
in the madness of crowds?
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels like that, too. A little bit.
Yeah. We're at the end of the
It's just a cycle.
the empire.
Or just some kind of cycle. Doesn't mean it's the death of a place, or it just means maybe this uncomfortable rebirth that maybe we're in.
Yeah. Very well maybe. I do not know.
All right, do you want to have any invitations for people? Any last?
Invitations. I mean, I just don't drink out of plastic bottles.
That's fair.
Yeah. And And yeah, like I always say, it's just, play around with this stuff. Stay open to these new tools. Don't be overwhelmed.
Oh, wait, are there any other websites or apps that you want to push people to just dibble dabble and check it out?
There's a lot. I actually wish I should make a list, but I think, it's Claude or, it's ChatGPT. It's one thing you can do too if you feel overwhelmed. You could say to it, like we've talked about this before, but talking to it like it's a human. You could say, hey, help me write a prompt to ask you how to do this. And so like if you're overwhelmed, you're like, wait, I kind of want this, but I don't know what it is. So like you could just say straight up, help me write a prompt to ask you, the robot, how to do X, Y, Z, whatever you're trying to do. So I guess that's not a specific, like this new thing. I mean, there's so many of these tools, and I feel like
I catch myself saying please, which kind of bothers me.
I don't think it's a bad thing.
No, it bothers me.
I don't know.
It does. I'm like, oh, okay. Because I have ingrained in me a certain level of manners.
Yeah, no, I get it.
And I'll be like, please condense. And I go, oh, really?
Yeah. But why not? Why not? Why not be nice?
No, because I don't want to treat it like it's a person.
Okay. I mean.
And I say please all the time.
I don't know if that's a bad. Listen, if you feel like you're wasting your time, but if
no, it's not about wasting time. I'm like,
because you're treating it like a person.
Yes,
and you don't like that.
I don't.
This is just like a last little anecdote on it. That's just interesting to consider. There was this physicist who had like solved this incredible, almost considered impossible theoretical physics problem. He had the paper about it and had not published the paper, and so this was not available anywhere. Only he understood this stuff. He put the equation and what he was trying to figure out into Claude 3, and it basically spit out his paper. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know.
And he was just like, how? Like, this is not on the internet. This is not something, this is not even out. This is not available. And it understood it, and it was pretty spot on. So I think saying please is totally okay.
Why, so it doesn't come back for me later?
Just to hedge your bets.
Okay. Well, until next time, I can't wait to hear.
Me too.
Elijah Allen Blitz, thank you for your
Gabby.
time for our counter talk. And we'll post actually for people to send their questions. And if we don't know, maybe we can solicit somebody, or you can, because you know all the smarty pants.
We'll see. But yeah, that would be good. We'll find out what people want to hear more about and what's actually helpful.
I just want it to know how to fold laundry. And, it's like the Jetsons. Let's go.
Oh,
All this
okay.
like, write my intro. No, let's go. Fold towels.
I don't think you want that.
Fold a fitted sheet.
I don't.
Impress me.
I don't think you want that.
I
Because then
don't?
you're going to have a robot in the house. And Laird would kill it.
Yeah. You could just have it in one room and I bring the laundry there.
It's possible. If you want that. I'm just getting
Imagine first time by itself
Yeah.
folding a fitted sheet. You know how hard that is?
I understand.
Do you know?
That is something I cannot do.
Okay.
And
I can't either.
I just want to say that is going to be here much sooner than you think. And then you have to really think about, do you want that robot in your house?
Will it scratch up my floors?
You could probably get the model that doesn't.
Cut vegetables and fold sheets. And I'd be like, technology is amazing.
It'll do it. But again, I really am. When you have the chopping vegetable robot,
Yeah.
are you really going to want it in the house?
No, I'm not.
Exactly.
And also, I hate to
Yeah.
say it because I am human. The grounding components of doing certain things, the ritual of living every day, I think it really empowers us. And it's monotonous, and it is hard. Or tedious.
Mm-hmm.
It's not hard. But there's something very, very, well, I've tried to look at it this way. There's a spiritual aspect for it. Now, I have friends, though, who hate to cook. They should get the robot.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I honor that.
Yeah.
Be so tempting.
We'll see.
I'll be so mad. I'll go to my friends and they'll be like, so anyway, I worked out for an extra hour today because the robot took care of dinner or this. And I'll be like, that's so good.
Exactly. It's like, it's just going to allow for more of that. We'll see. Yeah. Because also, it will go the other direction too. Like, let's, be clear that it's both sides.
Yeah.
Where it's like, if you, can now use it to save half of your time, and you can now spend half of your time playing video games more, like somebody's going to do that too.
Yeah, of course. I know. You're reading my mind. Okay.
I'm just saying we've said it all the time, but bright light, dark shadow, and it's going to be yes and. It's across the whole spectrum. But we just can't just be like, oh, it's only this. It's going to be negative like Wall-E, and we're going to be just like plugged into the Matrix, all just like gooed out, sipping, food through a straw. It's like, or there's this other, angle of trajectory that we can still kind of help nudge in this direction a little bit right now.
Do you think like my children's children are going to know who Shakespeare was?
Yeah, of course. Well, they can just, but who's Shakespeare? But no, listen, I don't know. It's, we had the conversation, with a friend of ours that just had a 2-year-old kid, and he was like, yeah, it's very likely that my daughter's first crush is going to be an AI, and she's going to be buried on Mars. And it wasn't said with like optimism. It was just said with like matter of factness. Like, it's very likely this is going to be what we're talking about.
Okay.
It's,
all right. Yeah. Well, Elijah, love you. Thank you.
Love you too. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. If you want to learn more, there is a ton of valuable information on my website. All you have to do is go to GabrielleReece.com or head to the episode show notes to find a full breakdown with helpful links to studies, research, books, podcasts, and so much more. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and send them to @Gabby Reece on Instagram. And if you feel inspired, please subscribe. I'll see you next week.